Okay, so this new Star Wars trailer that just dropped yesterday shows the main reason why I'm no longer digging Star Wars. And though why some may like it, and that's cool, I'm going to break down the 5 reasons why I feel that this trailer epitomizes why many people are falling out of love with Star Wars. And we're going to start right now. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Kyle Suggs, where we take culture, TV, and movies, and we filter it right. If this is your first time here, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button and that bell icon so that you don't miss any future content. So I took a little bit of a break. I came back. I got some things going on. Got it squared away. Really busy. Hope you guys are doing well. And I come back finally when I have a chance to do a video. And the first thing that I want to talk about is Star Wars. I haven't talked much about it on this channel. I had one series I did quickly on it, and that was basically me talking about the overall history of the Disney acquisition of Star Wars and what Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson have been trying to do with their reimagining, to say it nicely, I guess. And, well, that video, I'll put a link above. You can check that out. It's pretty informal, but I kind of cover the history there. I'm going to cover a little bit more items here as it pertains particularly to the trailer and why I feel the trailer itself epitomizes why people are falling out of love with Star Wars. And it's a sad thing because I have seen every single Star Wars film in its first run, not the second run like the original trilogy. I saw every single Star Wars movie when it first came out firsthand, and so I can kind of speak to all this. And to be fair to those who don't really understand what I'm saying, people who are really into Star Wars really are people who are ones who have been introduced via their parents or firsthand. It's very rare to find someone who's just coming to Star Wars on their own. I haven't seen very many, but the ones that I'm talking about, like myself and many others that have been brought up and have seen the changes from Lucasfilm to Disney, are having a hard time with the new movies, particularly with the way that they're trying to take the narrative away from the story, driving characters, having an arc and good villains to try and push forth a social agenda, which is why it's applicable for this channel, because Star Wars, like many things, Star Trek, so forth, they're just taking things to the point where they just want to give you a political agenda and ram things down your throat. And I know people just want to really be entertained. They want to see good stories, and they don't want to be preached to from a political narrative that they particularly don't agree with. And you end up alienating half of your audience. And in Star Wars case, it's going to be a little bit more than that, because you're going to have people who don't like Star Wars because of who like Star Wars but no longer like it because of what they're doing with the story. But then you're going to have even more people who don't like what you're doing with that, plus the agenda that you're putting forth. Some people can get by with just the simple aspect if you're just trying to take, bad storytelling, like the prequels. I mean, the Star Wars people who are fans of the original trilogy didn't necessarily like the trilogy, but many dealt with it because it was still canon. The story was still very good, even though it wasn't executed, in my opinion, in many people's opinion, the best way. And so I'm going to go over my list here. I'm going to go over the trailer, and I'm going to just kind of go over some highlights here and some screen stills of what the trailer was about and why I feel it's really hard to really stomach. And so what I'm going to talk about here essentially is this, is that I'm going to go over a quick history, and I kind of covered the fact that agenda over story is what you're seeing in Star Wars. And I'm going to cover that a little bit more in a second here, but you saw it firstly when Rey in The Force Awakens, when it was clear that she was her own character and that she didn't need a man for pretty much anything. And you had Finn, who was basically trying to help her get up and move her along and try and get her out of the way. And obviously, she was more capable than him, and she was more than able to fend for herself. And that was a clear story narrative that they're trying to put forth, which again is totally okay. But that was just the first inkling of what they're trying to say. They're trying to put forth the fact that this woman doesn't need a man, to go forward, which is cool if that was all it was. But it was the hint of things to come, and that's Star Wars had never done that. If you look back to Princess Leia, she was just a terrific character who basically was self-assertive, whatever, but they didn't push the fact that she was a woman. And not saying that Force Awakens did in that regard, because they didn't really, but it was just, like I said, an indication. But they never really pushed a social agenda to the forefront, where it would sacrifice the story. Obviously, Star Wars had diversity all along with the aliens and so forth, and so that was there, but it wasn't implicitly thrown in your face, among other things. As you get into The Last Jedi, it's all over the place. But The Force Awakens had a little bit of that. Some people read into that, but The Last Jedi really had that, and people were really, really starting to be annoyed. Well, actually, after The Last Jedi, people were extremely ignored with it, and so that was the thing. So agenda over story would be my first thing. The second thing is that The Last Jedi essentially destroyed everything to do with The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi pretty much rewrote and took out all the plot points that J.J. Abrams, who was the director of The Force Awakens, took it out, and Rian Johnson, who was the director of The Last Jedi, was trying to circumvent expectations, and so he did all these things and by the way, this is going to be a spoiler-heavy review, so from here on out, that's your warning. So if you don't want to hear spoilers about The Last Jedi or even the new movie, because I'm actually reading the trailer, I'm reading the spoilers for the Rise of Skywalker, so I'm going to be going over some rumors there, which actually tie into the movie as well as tie into the trailer and tie into what I'm trying to talk about. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, is where I think the movie is going to go based on the things we've seen in the rumor mill and the leaks, and how these leaks are tying in with the trailer itself, and how we think that there's a reasonable expectation of what the story is going to be like for the Rise of Skywalker. And so anyway, so that's your warning. And so when you had the situation with Snoke being killed, okay, he was the big bad in the Last Jedi, or so you thought, or the big bad in The Force Awakens, and so here's the deal. So he gets killed, and then you have Rey, who doesn't have any parents. She gave her up for liquor money, whatever, and you had Luke Skywalker being killed off, and all these different things were put into play. You had a romance with Finn and Rey, which didn't come to fruition, but I thought that was kind of cute. That was kind of squashed. And then so you had these characters who were trying to get established were put apart in the second film. You have a different story, which is just in terms of the animal abuse. Never mind that they were slaves, or even though the children of this planet were slaves, they didn't mention that, but they were more concerned about the animals being mistreated. And that was a whole narrative on its own in that casino. Didn't fit. That whole thing really could have gone. But again, to my first point, it was agenda over story, and that was what people are really upset about. That was never really been in Star Wars. And had that been a movie that had not been a Star Wars movie, maybe The Last Jedi would have been a movie that would have been something that people would want to see. But because it was a Star Wars film, Star Wars has certain expectations that people are looking to see, and it definitely circumvented those to the dismay of the fans. And so that was the thing there. And getting into that to the fans, when the backlash from The Last Jedi happened, and it was huge. It opened really, really big the first month, but people didn't go back to see it. I only saw Star Wars The Last Jedi twice in the theater, and that may seem like a lot to many, but I saw The Force Awakens like 9 times in the theater, and I saw the Phantom Menace like 11 times in the theater. I saw the Phantom Menace 3 times in the same day, and so it didn't make as much money, and people were upset. And so then you had Solo. So Solo, which to me wasn't really a bad film. I thought it was okay. It was a decent film, but the thing was, people were so torn and so upset with the Last Jedi. People didn't show up, and Solo, a Star Wars story, was a bona fide flop. And it was from that. Then you had more indications from Disney. But then you had what happened was, so then we talked about this a little bit with Captain Marvel, is that the fans who spoke out against Star Wars, the movie that they love, the culture that they love, the lore, the legends, which is the books and the comics and so forth, all that stuff starts to suffer. And so they start to lash out on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And what happens? You have Rian Johnson, who's the director again of The Last Jedi. He comes attacking the fans. They double down. You have other cast members attacking the fans. You have Kathleen Kennedy. You have even J.J. Abrams chiming in. You have Disney themselves, Lucasfilm, dissing the fans and so forth. Calling people sexist, homophobic, racist, all this stuff. So if you don't like our movies for whatever reason, we're going to tell you why you don't like it. It's because you're a sexist and you're a racist. And that's utterly ridiculous. We saw the same thing with Captain Marvel with Rotten Tomatoes scores, and people just didn't like that and don't like that and don't appreciate that. And so that was the third point there. The first point was agenda over story. Second one was destroying, all that was good in The Force Awakens, and attacking the fans was the third. And the fourth is that Lucasfilms comes back and says, you know what? Just don't worry about the past, guys. Dude, don't worry about the past. It's forget the past, kill the past, and let it die. And that was what they were saying. But the problem is that people wanted the past. They wanted to see Han, Luke, and Leia, together one more time. We didn't see that. And they could have used the first movie, to do their thing and mix the new characters in to the next episode 8 and 9, and then they would have a perfect arc, a story. Right now, with The Last Jedi being what it was, nobody cares about these characters. I don't care about Rey. I don't care about Finn. I don't care about anybody at this point. All the characters that I care about, you killed off, and then you have to drag up Lando Calrissian up in there, because he's the only character from the original movies, that are left, unfortunately, because you killed off Luke, and unfortunately, Carrie Fisher passed away. And so, and of course they killed off Han Solo. And so what are you going to do? So then you have a situation with Galaxy's Edge. The park in California is basically having issues with people coming out. The attendance is down. No one's buying merchandise because they are keeping the classic characters hidden. There are no classic characters there, and so then you have the Resistance TV show that got canceled, and so you're seeing a lot of things with the toy sales are down and so forth with Star Wars. You see, if you go to Walmart, look on the shelves of Walmart for Star Wars stuff. If you see it at all, if you don't see it, go check out the clearance section, or the garbage or the big basket full of stuff that you can get for 75 cents or $1. Look in there. You maybe find some Star Wars stuff in there because people just aren't buying it. And that's a big hit because Star Wars is a huge multi-billion-dollar industry when it comes to just collectibles. And it makes way more money on that than it does anywhere else. And so there's some theories that George Lucas has a cut on that, and that's one of the reasons why Disney doesn't want to do that. And that's a plausible theory. I think that's pretty good. I'll leave a links below on some people that are thinking that and why they think that. And so, that's that. But now, all of that said and done, they do all that. Let's get into the trailer because you know what? At this point, they just need the money. And so what is actually happening is here. This is a shot from the trailer here. And so they start dragging up old characters. So the first part of the trailer, the first half of the trailer is basically a montage of clips from the past, I guess what? Let me see, 3, 6, 8 films, past 8 films. And you have Luke Skywalker here. He's showing him, this is at the beginning of Star Wars, A New Hope. He's looking out at the twin suns on Tatooine, and this is the beginning of the hero's arc, the hero's story. A brilliant piece where a kid, aspires to be something, but he's stuck on this planet, and he gets cast away into the stars and saves the galaxy. How cool is that? I mean, that's awesome. So that's what Star Wars was about. There's a clear-cut good and evil with Darth Vader and all that stuff. And so then you have a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi as he meets Luke for the first time, and then you have Boba Fett. These are characters that fans really, really love. And Boba Fett, I think the D3, I think they announced that they were going to have a TV series for Obi-Wan, and of course the Mandalorian trailer came out, and from what I'm hearing, that's pretty good. I mean, it looks pretty. From what I've seen, the stills of it looks pretty good, and people are saying that the trailer is pretty hot. Looking forward to check that out. But then they start going into Return of the Jedi, and of course Palpatine's going to be in this particular new movie, and of course Darth Maul and the twin lightsabers for the Darth Maul's staff or his dual lightsaber. We're going to see a little bit of that. This is, I think, a hint going forward. So I think what you're seeing here in these montages, they chose stills in this particular trailer to hint of what the story is going to be about. And I'm going to talk about a little bit about that in the rumors. And so you have the twin sabers here, which will, of course, have a callback later on the last with Rey. And then, of course, you have Anakin and Padme. That's also going to play something here, because this is really a story of Anakin Skywalker, ultimately. And then we're getting into The Force Awakens. Rey's looking scared here. Finn had just been pretty much cut down by Kylo Ren, and they're waiting for Chewie to come and rescue them from the Millennium Falcon. And of course, here you have Kylo and Rey. That's going to be a part in this movie, based on many rumors that they're going to be exploring that relationship and how that's going to play out. And here's a scene here, which I have no idea what it is. Who knows? I really don't even care. But my point is that they started bringing in characters from the past to sell this film. So this first part of it had nothing to do with the movie itself. It was to say, hey, I know we said, kill the past and let it die, but at the same time, we need money, as Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers would say. We need money, and so let's just drag out these characters so you can be fooled into coming out to see it. From what I understand, this movie has very little to do with the past. It just has to do with pushing the new characters forward, which is fine, which makes perfect sense. But when you don't invest time in a story or an arc or a narrative, there's no way people want to see this stuff. The new people don't want to see it. Resistance, the cartoon or animated show that was supposed to be enticing young kids, is not doing well. In fact, it got canceled, as I mentioned before. And, so what's going on? So that's what's happening. They're trying to salvage this thing. In my opinion, I predicted that this film, of all the three trilogies, you had all the three trilogies. The first trilogy, you had, what was it? Star Wars, The Empire, and Jedi. Star Wars made the most money. Empire made a little less than Star Wars, but The Return of Jedi made more than Empire. Okay, but less than Star Wars. Okay, then you had the second trilogy. If you look at third trilogy, if you look at it, never mind. The second trilogy, in terms of timeline, in terms of our timeline, is of course the Phantom Menace, which made a lot of money, and then the Attack of the Clones, and then you had Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith made more money than the second one. Okay, made more money than Attack of the Clones. Here we have The Force Awakens, made a whole bunch of money. All right, and then you had The Last Jedi, made a whole lot less by comparison. Still got over $1 billion and so forth. I think it made 1.7 billion, somewhere in there. But I'm thinking now, for the first time, that this movie, The Rise of Skywalker, is going to make less money than even The Last Jedi. That's what I'm predicting, based on excitement levels and so forth. Because from what I'm hearing, the movie just isn't going to be that good. The story that they're saying just is really not that good. And I don't want to just go into spoilers here or rumors here, but I kind of sort of need to in some ways because you won't understand where I'm coming from. But it's really a story of Rey, and it's a story of, from what I'm hearing there, this is all, now take everything I'm saying here with a grain of salt, but I've gotten this from several sites, and the trailer that I just saw yesterday makes me comfortable enough to come out and say what I think is going on. And so essentially what you have here is a redemption story of Kylo, who has basically been duped into the dark side by Palpatine, and Palpatine basically created Snoke, and Snoke ends up being just a pawn. They got to kind of retcon some things because with Rian Johnson taking Snoke out, it's like, well, what are you going to do now? So you got to bring in somebody. So you have to bring in the big bag from the original series, which sort of makes sense. So it's basically a MacGuffin quest to find something which ties into Palpatine, and Palpatine is tying the strings, and of course Kylo wakes up and realizes, oh my gosh, I was fooled. And then of course you have them fighting, and Luke comes in as the Force Ghost and does whatever, and then you have Kylo and Rey joining up to kill Palpatine. And of course at the end, I'm not gonna get to all the spoilers, but that's essentially what's going on there. It has very little to do with the past, with the original trilogy. They're just an afterthought. Lando Calrissian is just an afterthought, and they're introducing more and more characters as they go forward. As they have a scene where they get in trouble, a new character comes in and saves them. That happens several times. Another, all of these ex machina moments where at the last minute someone new comes in. I think part of that is to sell merchandise and toys and to advance their timeline, like in trying to create this cinematic universe where they can have multiple things downstream, which is totally fine. But had they done it in a way where you have, satisfy the old fans with, in the first movie, Han, Luke, Chewie, Leia, whatever, bring them together, and then you can kill everybody off you want at the end of that, or in the second movie, bring in the new people, like winding them in and fading out the new. And this isn't my idea in itself, but many fans have talked about this on the internet. I'm just repeating what people have been saying, but that makes total sense to me. And then of course the last film, this one would have been a film where we were all vested in the new characters, and Finn and Rey and Poe and all that. So anyway, what else do we have here? Okay, then we have this new character here. I don't know her name. I don't care. And here, I'm not going to talk about this. There's rumors on this one, but the rumors do tie into what C-3PO is with the red eyes. It's no point in talking about it because it's not relative to this discussion, but it's interesting. If you want to know, go check it out, what he's doing with those red eyes, potentially. And here, who knows what's going on there. And, of course, here's another thing. Oh, my goodness. And I'm glad I thought about this because what people are really upset by is that, that Rey is a Mary Sue, or that she's a character who basically can do no wrong. It's the same thing with Michael in Star Trek. I guess it's Discovery, whatever that is. It Discovery? I don't know. Whatever, the new one. Basically a female character who basically can do no wrong and is just there to push forth an agenda. And like I said in the other video, I don't mind if all characters in movies are females, if you just tell a good story, regardless of their sex. I mean, if you looked at the Amazons in Wonder Woman, they did it perfectly. Okay, it wasn't stressed in the fact that, oh my gosh, these are women and men suck, which is basically what they're trying to say. It's just the fact that you have good characters and people can fill in the blanks on their own. Don't preach to people on what you want to tell them. It's really offensive and people just don't want to see it, and they especially don't want to pay their money for it. And so anyway, you have Rey here doing stuff that's never been done before by any Jedi, throwing we know that Vader was able to throw a saber, but she's just doing stuff that's just out of control hype, right? No Jedi in history has done the things that she's done. we've seen, and it's just like people are turned off on that because they're thinking, she hasn't had a struggle. What do we know about her? We know nothing about her. She hasn't done anything to earn any of this stuff, and no one really even cares, personally, about this character. I mean, why should we care about her? What has she done? And it's like, and it goes for all of them, really. Why should we care about Poe? Why should we care about Finn? Why should we care about Kylo? Is probably the most dug out character so far in the story, and it's sad that most of us care more about Kylo Ren than we do about any of the other characters. I mean, they made Hux into a clown, who was a decent character in The Force Awakens. They turned him into a serious and total clown in The Last Jedi, and I'm hearing this film he's been demoted and so forth, so we'll see if that's true or not. But these are really, really good actors that they got in this cast. This cast is probably the best cast in all of the Star Wars series, and that even goes back to The Phantom Menace. We had 2 Academy Award winners there, Natalie Portman and Liam Neeson. I think the cast now is better than even that cast. So I mean, in terms of its acting ability, I mean, you got some serious talent, and it's just being wasted, in my opinion. And it's really a shame. And then you have the big fight here with Kylo and Rey, and this is probably the Death Star. And again, this ties into Palpatine and why he's coming back to power and why he's becoming the big menace again. And the last thing I want to talk about here is this slide here, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. Is that we have her with this double lightsaber I mentioned before, with the whole thing with Darth Maul. Just a call back to the scene. This is not a real deal here. This is either a dream sequence, or this is either she's stealth mode or trying to whatever. She's not going dark. She's not going bad. Why do I know that? It's because there's no way social justice warriors are going to allow a woman to be bad. So when you have social justice warrior and identity politics in movies, you can predict the whole movie because they're not going to go that way. She's not going to become a bad character. So so not only do you not care about her as a person, or as not care as Rey as a person or a character, you don't even for a fact that she's not going to go bad or get killed. She's that's not going to happen because they're not going to allow it, because identity politics prevents that. So when you have your hamstrung with not only the fact that Rian Johnson took away all of the plot points and all of the things that J.J. Abrams did with this mystery box approach with The Force Awakens, all that died. So essentially we're starting right now with a brand new film with whole new narratives that they have to do in 2 hours, and they're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to be able to tie it together. All of this stuff is a fake. All of this stuff with this tie-ins with Luke and Obi-Wan and Boba Fett and Emperor's going to be there, but all that stuff, all this nostalgia that they're pushing forward is not going to be in this film. It's not going to be in this film. And, it's just a shame, but it's going to end in a dud. Disney, I think, just wants to get through this so they can go on with their next thing and hope people forget about this and reboot this thing in about 15 years. And so that's what's going on here, everybody. I hope you enjoy the content on this channel. And if you do, please consider hitting like and subscribe and the bell icon so you don't miss any future content. And, if I do want to know if you guys want to have more content like this on my channel, comment below and let me know, because I've been doing this for about a year and a half now, and I still enjoy doing it. Again, I got tied up in some work for the past 2 weeks. I just couldn't get away and do quality videos, and so now I'm back. I got some more time, so let's see what we can do as we go forward. Christmas time is coming around the corner. I got some things planned for that, and so hope you guys have a great day, and I will check you guys next time.